where do you see yourself in like 10 years? What's the vision here? Because I'm almost at like, 30, 31, and it's almost like without being able to do what I can in powerlifting, it's almost like a early midlife crisis where I'm like, what do I do now? And I'm trying to find that and, experimenting with different things. So life is stable as far as my wife and, daughter and everything, but like it feels like a semi early midlife crisis where I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah, yeah. I guess I'd like to figure out something as far as like, I'm at so I felt like I really used my youth for stuff like physical things that I couldn't do later on in my life. I feel like I felt like I can always go to school. I can always learn more stuff. I can always work. I'm going to be able to do that for a really long time. However, this whole powerlifting thing, I think I got the next 5 years to get this done the way that I wanted to, and I think I was right. So now I think I'm probably going to go back to school. So as far as looking 10 years ahead in the future, so now I can like coach people and stuff, and be able to like support myself going to school.
Yeah.
So I'd like to think that maybe in the next 10 years I'll have like some kind of a job that's like working towards my retirement, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Building that like a little bit. Maybe just have like a little bit more than what I have now. Like
Yeah.
maybe have like a house and stuff. If I have a wife, then great. If not, then I hope I'm just making my life as good as I can. But I guess physically, I don't even know what to expect anymore. Because if you were asked me like 2 years ago where I see myself in 10 years, I'd be like, well, I'm going to be lifting this much weight
Yeah,
still.
I
I'll be
know.
doing this, and then now I'll be like, I'm going to be happy if I still weigh more than 200 pounds in 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I get
Um,
that. Do you have any regrets about anything from the past? Would you've done anything differently?
Man, not yet. I guess there's a couple of things I wish I had like rehabbed certain injuries a little bit better, or I wish I had known what to do better for a couple of those things, because I felt like that would have helped me get, I don't know, maybe probably not even 10 pounds further ahead of where I ended up anyway. Who knows? But there's always like little things like that. But for the most part, I felt like I was always trying really hard to like learn as much as I could to figure out things that were going to help me get as far as I could. So I do feel like I really utilized my time as well as I thought that I could, going in, or like while the whole thing was going down. So um, no, not a lot of regrets with that. No, it's hard to regret that, because so far that's has brought me the most happiness out of anything else in my life ever. So I don't think I could ever regret. I don't know. So even if there was something kind of messed up in there, I don't know.
Well, do you ever feel like, because like for me, I'm like, oh, I never officially got that 900 deadlift in the competition. Do you ever feel that way about like 1,000 or like even on squat and bench? Like bench, you were like right at 500, bro. You could have hit it that day at Reebok
I
Record
know.
Breakers. Does
Yeah.
that
I
ever
didn't know it
hit
was
you where you're
I didn't know it was going to be a touch and go command though. So,
well, yeah, but no, let's not be
yeah,
too
no.
hard on yourself. You
Yeah,
smoked
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But like, do you ever if does that ever like bother you that you're like, I was right at these numbers and I never quite got there?
It does a lot. Because I felt like I was close, and it was like also possible. So I really felt like I could have a meet, or I did 700, 500, 1,000. Like that was going to be my next meet, because I was already really close to it at the last meet. And I was like, my 677 squat that I did at that meet flew. Like it was really good. It was really good. My 491 bench was great.
Yeah.
I had pulled a 959 in training like a month before the meet that could have been 1,000. Um, and so I felt like I was capable of like those lifts. So yeah, that's a pretty tough one, because that would have been like a 2,200 total and stuff, and
Yeah.
and I felt like that was what I really was like probably capable of ultimately. But at the end of the day, I remember never even thinking I'd get to 2,000 pounds. I remember that just being
Yeah.
unfathomable, and I got there, and then 2,100 was just, I still can't believe I did that. The 21, 22, like, uh, yeah. But I do wish it could have gone like a little bit more though. But if I don't feel too bad about the 1,000 pound deadlift for some reason. I don't know what it is that just lost meaning to me for some reason, because unless I did it like, I don't know. I don't know. Just with the thing with deadlifting and competitions, it just like everything can be just so different from the competition day. For example, at Record Breakers, do you know what we deadlifted on when I did the 953? We used a brand new Rogue Ohio deadlift bar.
Oh yeah, that doesn't have much bend.
And by brand new, I mean that was the first day that it was ever used. It had been used like a total of maybe 10 lifts before I touched it.
Yeah.
And it was different. Even though I used an Ohio deadlift bar in training. However, when I pulled the 959, the bar was like 2 or 3 months old, and I had done several other lifts on it. So the width is totally different, the way it feels off of the ground. And then you could go do a meet that's going to use an old ass beat up Texas deadlift bar, and now all of a sudden you're deadlifting 25 pounds more guaranteed.
Yeah.
And then now that gets to be the world record. Or so
okay, this is facts, people. The Ohio deadlift bar has way less bend than the Texas. And what do you think about these guys now? Like, and he's 100% right. Like, you use an old Texas deadlift bar, it is so much freaking bend. What do you think about these guys now breaking the records on the Kabuki?
So I don't know anything about the Kabuki bar. Is it? Have you used one?
No, I'm totally opposed. It's like a way bendier version of the Texas deadlift bar.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like, we're just.
Well, that's why I don't give a fuck about deadlifting in competitions anymore half the time, because of crap like that, because of how much it can be manipulated based off of the bar. And then you go over to Russia and, the plates are taking up the entire sleeve of the bar. And then now the bar is bending so much. So so instead of like me complaining about it, I went over there and I used those plates.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you that was the easiest 950 deadlift I'll ever do in my life. I almost pulled 970 that day, and I was exhausted. Like, I was not having the greatest day either. And 970 came off the ground so fast the first time that like it surprised me, But it's just the fact that it can be manipulated that much in one competition and still count as the same thing. Like, it's bullshit. Like, it's literally the different. It would literally be like squatting halfway down, or something like that, or cutting depth. Like, it would be the equivalent to reducing range of motion than squat or bench.
Well, now in squat they got those new Inzer sleeves that are like way better. What do you mean?
Yeah, did they like ban them though?
No, dude, they're using them all over.
Dang.
This is what I mean. Like, powerlifting, the improvements in all the equipment are just getting like out of hand. Like,
yeah. And then, I mean, I'm still kind of opposed to the whole like raw with wraps category idea thing. Like, it just makes an unnecessary category that doesn't need to be in there. Like, I don't know. It's just like one more thing. And
it's getting
it confuses. Yeah, and then it confuses like the spectators and stuff. Because I don't know, like the differences in totals and having to explain to people, oh, this one was done this way. Oh, hey, well, this kind of bar was used, and then this is why it's different. And honestly, like, I think everybody should go back to like the stiff bar or something. Like I think, maybe each bar can have its world record, but even then, like that doesn't mean much either, because I've used some Ohio deadlift bars that feel totally different from each other. Like I've used some that like feel like a Texas deadlift bar, and then there's one that feels like a pretty solid, Ohio deadlift bar that doesn't bend as much or something. Yeah, I don't know. So it can just be manipulated so much that it's just like, yeah,
it's frustrating. Yeah, we have an Ohio deadlift bar here, and it's way less bendy. So I totally understand that. What like drove you all these years? Because I mean, you got to have like some demons or something to be able to like push to where you pushed and lift the numbers you did. Like, what was the driving mentality?
For some reason, it's just like I always cared so much about being strong. And like, man, it started like whenever I was just like 3 years old when I went to see like Hercules. I remember my mom took me to see like Hercules, and then, he gets big and strong. He goes and trains with Phil, and like, he goes through that whole thing. And for some reason since then, that was just like something that I always found pride in, was like, if I was strong about something like that. Like, I remember one time in kindergarten, like I did something that everybody thought was pretty strong because maybe nobody else could do it. Like I was like, I just picked something up that nobody else could, something like that. But then I remember everybody was like impressed, and like it made me feel so good about myself. Like there's no way the kid standing next to me would have felt that good about it. Like he would have maybe felt good about it, but then like I like for some reason for me, like it made me feel like super good. So I always just cared so much about being strong, and a lot of my like self-esteem, it sounds like almost ridiculous to say, but growing up, even like my self-esteem was like a little bit around like the fact that I was like, or trying to be strong and stuff, like, or having that as like a goal. So I guess whenever, powerlifting comes along, it really just, it works well with that kind of mindset, I guess, because that is the goal, to just keep beating yourself, do a little bit better each time, and stuff like that. And then also it helped me to like be less skinny too, because I was always really insecure about being like a skinny kid and stuff. um so just like more self-esteem, looking a little bit better. And then I always really liked the performance side of things too, just trying to feel as good as I can and lift as much as I can, be as strong as I can. And it was just like I never really had to feel like I had to look for the motivation that much for it. I always get asked like what I did for motivation. And I was just like, I don't know, I kind of just felt like it, like,
Yeah, I get
um,
that. And like that was just natural, that fire. And then it got to a
yeah.
point where I think when the injuries accrued and everything, it's like the fire was like kind of gone. Like now it's hard for me to get like psyched up. Like it's really hard. I can hardly even do it. And back in the day, it was just like all the time. But
Yeah.
do you find yourself, do you have a hard time getting like psyched up anymore or anything for a big lift?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I guess if I had a big lift,
Well,
then I think I would just be scared more than anything right now if I had one. Because I'd be like, oh shit, like what's gonna happen if I do this one, or like I'd have that thought a lot. But I don't know. I don't know. No, I think I still get like pretty worked up. I think I'd have a harder time like handling it right now because I'm not used to like having. I mean, because it was there for a while. Like it had like every week, almost every workout, I had a lift that I needed to take seriously. Like, okay, even if it was like, RPE 8 lift or something like that, you still needed to get it together, get under that lift and think about it.